Thank you, Joey. Welcome all to our meeting of Fresno City Toastmasters. For those of you who may be watching on YouTube, my name is Chanel and I'm our current Fresno City Toastmasters Club President. Our mission statement here at Toastmasters is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience to empower our members to develop better communication and leadership skills, which results in greater self-confidence and personal growth. So today we have kind of a small group, so we're going to have to try to fill in our agenda with 4 people if possible. I do have my speech, so I will be giving that. One thing, Denny and Joey already know this, but Mike, we did decide that we're not going to be meeting Tuesday after Memorial Day, May 31st. We'll be taking that week off in honor of the holiday. So I'll also be sending out a reminder email about that to everybody that will take the week off. And I also wanted to bring up that I did log into my pathway this week. And so it seems like my pathway is up and running and working fine. If for those of us who are already logged into a pathway, I believe, I think it's just the starting of a new pathway or trying to sign a new member up that may still be down until the 22nd is what the website currently says. But I didn't have any trouble getting into mine with it already being set up. Have you guys noticed any change on that?
I'm going to check the payment thing right now.
Okay.
And I'll let you know that.
Okay, and so while Joey's checking that, just moving forward onto the agenda for today, I'm going to be speaking. Mike is our Toastmaster. Denny, you're down for General Evaluator. Joey is down to evaluate my speech. So we still have the evaluation team and then table topics.
I can do the timer.
Okay, thank you, Joey. I know that I'm speaking. I also wouldn't mind facilitating table topics if I can jump in and do that.
Okay.
Okay, and then Denny and Mike, if you could take one of the other 2 evaluation roles.
I can take the all counter if you would like.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Oh, you're doing timer?
Yes.
Okay.
And the payment
So
gateway is down, by the way, still.
it's still down. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we have 5 more days, hopefully. Hopefully it'll stick 22nd and not push it back. Okay, Denny, can you do the grammarian role?
Sure.
Come up with whatever word is on your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all that I have then for the introduction. So I will pass the podium over to Mike, who is our Toastmaster for today.
Thank you, Toastmasters, and good afternoon. I'm very excited about today's meeting. We are a small, mighty group today, but I would like to introduce our first speaker, which is Chanel West. Chanel West is our acting current president as well. And I am looking forward to hearing about her speech on, what was it again, Chanel? I apologize. When I asked you earlier.
Usually, Mike, what the Toastmaster will do, you'll introduce the topic for the day.
The table topics.
Then, the meeting theme.
The theme, which is graduation.
Graduation. You'll introduce the theme and then introduce Denny to introduce the evaluation team. And then after that, you'll come back on and introduce me as speaker.
Okay, I'm sorry. I did look at, when you're a Toastmaster, so I do apologize. I was
That's
just
okay,
figuring out
Mike.
what to do when you're in a meeting, but
We got a
sure.
small peanuts group today, so don't worry.
So today's meeting is about graduation. Let me pull up my and we have Denny Mason is going to be introducing. Yeah, go ahead, Denny, take it away.
Thanks, Mike. I'm going to give a little bit on our topic of graduation this morning, if that's okay, which is this morning, I was awakened by a 14-year-old who normally I have to get out of bed, try to wake her up about 3 times. This morning she was awake and she was busy putting her makeup on, and she came downstairs and said, "Where's my gown and my cap?" She said, "Those are your responsibility, Grandma." I said, "Well, okay, they're right here. They're ready to go." And she said, "Now hurry up because we have to get there on time." And I said, "I have been waiting all year to hear those words. I'll be right there." It was great. She actually wore a dress today, which is the first time her classmates had seen her in a dress. Put on makeup. They saw quite a different girl today. I had the opportunity to photograph her class in their caps and gowns today, which was lovely. And we had a great time, and we got the teacher in there goofing around and having a lot of pictures and all of that. And before they all had to change back into their uniform. Great time. And it's a reflective time, a time that we're thinking about the end of the year and what has been accomplished, which is a very lovely theme for them. And I like that their teachers are reflective about that. A great thing. I'm going to serve as general evaluator today and also as grammarian. So our word of the day today is going to be perspective. Perspective is outlook. The way we see things is our perspective. So try to use that word today as we go through the schedule here. And I'm going to introduce our odd counter, who is Mike.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will be your all counter today. I get the privilege of listening to everybody extensively and to listen for those crutch words, as we all know, as ahs, ums, ands, and ohs or so's. So I look forward to listening to everybody today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. And we have our timer, Joey.
Thank you, Denny. And I will be timing Chanel's speech, which is the 5 to 7. Chanel?
Yeah.
5 to 7.
Okay.
And then we got our table topics 1 to 2. And my evaluation of Chanel's speech will be 2 to 3. So I'll be doing that today, as well as the Zoom side, which is getting the video to focus on whoever's speaking for a speaker. We tend to kind of like the window panes on table topics, and then I'll try and see if I can get the dual pane for the speech and evaluation. So that's what I'll be doing today, Zoom and timer.
Very good. Thank you, Joey. And I'm going to turn this back over to Mike as our Toastmaster today.
Thank you, Denny. Up next, we have Chanel's speech, I believe. Chanel is, as I was previously saying, our current president, and she is doing her, I believe, is this your 5th speech?
Oh, 15th maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
A lot more.
To Mike, it's
The
the
5th
5th.
speech the 5th that I remember. So without further ado, this is Chanel West.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. We're a bit of a small group today, so I will informally start out by saying that the speech for me, my personal goal is to practice a bit of being more extemporaneous. So this is actually the first time that I will have spoken this speech out loud. I have some notes, but I have not practiced the delivery. So we're going to see how it just comes out raw in the moment. I would like all of you to join me for a moment in closing your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose, and then exhale very slowly through your mouth. Go ahead and open your eyes back up. Today, we are going to be talking about the importance of remembering to rest. I'm going to say straight away, if you take away only one thing from my speech today, I want it to be this: that prioritizing rest is crucial to thriving in all areas of life. And I'll say that one more time, okay? Prioritizing rest is crucial to thriving in all areas of life. For the purposes of this speech, I'm going to use the term rest to refer both to sleeping and to relaxing activities that you do while awake. There are a lot of distinctions that can be made between those two things, obviously, but for the purposes of today's speech, we'll just be speaking about rest generically. I'm going to start off with a little bit more audience participation, and we're going to launch into some questions. So Mike, I don't know if you're in a position to turn your camera on, but if you could do that, I'm going to ask for a show of hands on a couple things. So firstly, raise your hand, guys, if you have ever pulled an all-nighter. I would say any of us who have been in college or our parents most definitely have, which is everybody here. Okay, raise your hand if you have ever been awake for more than 30 consecutive hours. No. What about 35? 40 consecutive hours? 45? You put it down. I asked my boyfriend the same question last week, and his record is he has been awake for 60 consecutive hours without sleeping. I've only been awake for about 30. I was blown away to hear that. It's about 2.5 days with no sleep. Okay, one more question. Now raise your hand if you can truthfully say that every week you take a day off and don't do any work. Oh, crickets. I can't raise my hand on that either. Sometimes. What about approximately every 2 weeks? Maybe once a month. I think I can raise my hand for once a month. I think I got that covered. Now, when I was younger, I didn't think that rest was very important. I grew up with a father who had two important mantras in life. First one was work hard and play harder. And the second one was that people can sleep when we are dead. That is what he lived by. However, I'm here to tell you today that the reality is actually closer to this. If you don't sleep, you may very well die sooner. My first point today is that rest, both sleep and resting while awake, is really important to physical health. I looked up some research from the National Institute of Health, and it shows that a chronic lack of sleep over an extended period of time, which is defined as actually less than 7 hours per night, contributes to several different diseases, including diabetes, cardiovascular disease and hypertension, anxiety and depression, and things like substance abuse. We all know that most major religions of the world have a rest day that was instituted thousands of years ago. In Christianity and Judaism, we call it the Sabbath, and the Bible teaches that even God himself chose to rest on the seventh day of the week. In Islam, their day of rest is called the Salat al-Jumu'ah. In Buddhism, it's the Apsotha, which the founder of Buddhism, Buddha himself, instituted for the purpose of cleaning the mind. Maybe there's some wisdom that we can glean from these ancient people. A second reason that I'm going to give you to embrace rest is that it actually increases productivity and creativity. People who have found great success can contribute to actually taking a break from the grind. Lin-Manuel Miranda, who you may have heard of as the creator of the Broadway musical Hamilton, a very famous playwright and musician, he actually attributes his greatest creative successes to taking breaks. This is a quote from Miranda himself. He says, "A good idea doesn't come to me when I'm doing a million things. The good idea comes in the moment of rest. It comes in the shower. It comes when I'm doodling or playing with my son. It's when my mind is on the other side of things. And even Elon Musk, who is currently the wealthiest person in the world and arguably one of the most intelligent and creative minds of our generation, has confessed that he now has to consistently get at least 6 hours of sleep every night because his productivity and success started to decrease so far when he wasn't prioritizing his rest. Yikes. And one more quote to back that up. Alex Sujung Kimpeng, who's the author of the book Rest, Why You Get More Done When You Work Less, explains that rest is an essential component of working well and working smart. So I will repeat my main point again, like I did at the beginning. Prioritizing rest is crucial to thriving in all areas of life. It's important to being able to thrive as a parent, as a partner, as a grandparent, as a worker, as a friend, and as a citizen of our society. Friends, I would like you to consider this your weekly rest check-in. The speech is dropped in the middle of your week, interjected into your life to provide space for you to pause and consider how rest, or perhaps your lack of it, is affecting your life at this time. So to close one more time with me, I would like you all to close your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nose, and exhale slowly through your mouth. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Toastmaster.
Excellent job, Chanel. Thank you very much. I would like to now go back to Denny, the gender evaluator, to introduce our, to introduce the evaluation team.
We're going to go into
Mike,
topics.
we're going to go to table topics.
So Mike, I'm going to do table topics, so you would actually introduce me again as table topics master.
All right, Chanel. I would like to introduce Chanel as our table topic master today.
Gracias. Okay. Our theme today is graduation, so I'm going to make table topics pretty straightforward. I also didn't have any time to plan, so I'm going to go with whatever is easiest. And let's talk about a time that you graduated or completed something. It doesn't have to be a graduation from an academic institution in the traditional sense, but a time that you graduated or completed something, or a time that somebody else you know who is close to you has graduated or completed something, and tell us why that time was important or special to you. All right, Joey, go for it.
Thank you, Chanel. So graduation, one of the graduations besides my own that were pretty important in my life, I think one of the biggest ones was my wife's graduation from a master's in counseling, in rehab counseling at Fresno State. So she, after we finished our normal bachelor's of science, and she was, I think, a mass comm journalism, originally she wanted to do like the newscast type thing and journalism, but then decided that she's too introverted to be on the news. So she decided against it, went back to school, got the degree that I talked about, because she really likes working with people and young people, who trying to get them back on track with their lives. And she's done many stints at different ages. She's worked with 18 to 24-year-olds who were just, it's called Turning Point. It was more of a living situation, didn't really have anything to do with school. And then she got into part-time over at Fresno City College, where she was working with DSPS students, disabled students, and getting them from the school life to the work life. So there was this beta program that was all based on grant funding and things. And that was a little tough. She was full-time in that program and was recently last year, I think last summer, was able to get on full-time as a counselor. She just wanted to do the counseling side of things. And the other program, she was doing a lot of different things like marketing, and she was having to hire people and let people go and train people and things like that. And that's just, for her, it was a little bit more of a stretch than she wanted. And I believe that graduation from the master's program really gave her that foot up to get to where she is now, versus other friends that she's got that don't have that same star power when she goes into a job like a college counselor. So that's probably one of my favorite graduations of my wife.
Thank you, Joey. That's really neat. I personally really admire people who have degrees in counseling, therapy, social work, and things like that, and choose to work in those fields with people, because I think I personally would probably last about a month, and then I would just be like burned out on the floor. So I think it's impressive, and I'm really grateful that some people are made with that heart and patience.
Patience, yeah.
Yes. All right, Mike or Denny?
I would like to go next if I could, please.
Yes.
The single most biggest graduation that I remember will be for my mother's college graduation. She did go off and get her master's degree as well, which I was at that ceremony, which was just about as fun as the first one. But I remember the bachelor's degree in nursing graduation kind of the most. I do remember being a small child, being 11 years old and getting to pin her up there. And so it was just an exciting time for me as a teenager, watching my mom finish high school and then go to college and then get a degree in which she, in a service where she was needed. And it was quite exciting as a teenager. And she got her, in nursing, and now she's a family nurse practitioner. So, yeah.
Thank you for sharing. That is also really inspiring, to go back to school after having already had children and push through all of those degrees. Very impressive. All right, Miss Denny, you're up.
Many years ago, my husband's youngest son was about to graduate from Irvine, Cal State Irvine. And it was the first occasion that we were going to have blended families together, as in divorced parents, now married, parents of his youngest son. So the ex-wife is going to be there. And we did a little bit of planning for that. I have the philosophy that those type of events, a wedding, a funeral, get one opportunity to do the right thing and be there, make it a great occasion for the person about whom the event is. And we were able to pull that all off and host people that we had not had in our home before, and set a tone for the rest of our marriage and our kids' future with their families, so that they knew that things would be good when we all needed to be together. That was the graduation that I remember.
Thank you for sharing. That's really good also. I don't deal with that with my parents because they're still together, but my grandparents had been divorced for many years, and so I was always really grateful that both sets of the grandparents on my mom's side could be in the same room with each other and made it work and showed up to graduations and birthday parties and stuff like that. Okay, I will go then briefly with table topic. I think that a special graduation that popped into my head, probably because it's the most recent one that I've been to, was my sister Callie's college graduation last year from Fresno State with her liberal studies degree. So I think you guys all know that my sisters and I were homeschooled when we were little. And so we spent a lot of time together, learning together in the same room, day after day. And I was always, as a child, much more naturally structured, like too focused, pretty good at sitting down and studying. And my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, she was the one who was like, loved to talk, like ADHD all over the place, couldn't sit still, and just struggled with school, like all the way, elementary school, junior high, high school, like was not a huge fan of academics. But watching her go on to college and really grow in that in a huge way, like she used to, I remember when she was 15, 16, still in high school, and she would ask me for advice on writing her papers because it was just so overwhelming and she didn't know what to put down. And now that she's gone through college and is actually in the credential program now, like I would ask her for advice on writing papers because she has come so far, and she graduated with honors. I think she had like a 3.8 GPA. And I'm really proud of her to see how hard she has worked and how much she has grown in that process. And she is now doing her student teaching and will finish next semester and be a full-time teacher. So I'm really proud of her. All right, I will pass it back over to Denny then as the general evaluator to introduce our speech evaluation.
Joey, I think you're doing our speech evaluation today, now, right?
I sure am. Let me pin our videos here. Let's see. Oh, you know what? I think I have hers already pinned. So it might have been Chanel the whole time pinned up. I thought I removed it.
Oh no.
There we go. So it's Chanel the whole time. Start my timer. All right, pull up my notes. All right, Chanel. So speech number 15 or so, 5 to Mike. I know Mike joined just recently, so you probably saw 5 of your speeches, so that's good. I've got to see you since the beginning of, I think, a couple into the Bitwise, and then going through the 2020 virtual thing, and then on our way out of the virtual thing. And what I liked getting to the speech, so you were doing a speech on the importance of rest, and you wanted to challenge yourself on extemporaneous speaking, which is not a lot of really organization before practice time or anything like that. Just basically having some notes and jumping up and being able to give that speech and do somewhat of a good job of it, considering obviously the more repetitions we get in a speech, the better we are. So what I liked in the beginning is you, in the explaining the importance of rest, you define rest, because rest can mean many different things. So defining it is always helpful, especially to an audience, to get them in the right frame of what they want, what they're going to be hearing from you. And I thought, and many on here could probably confirm, that your speaking was much more bold and loud in that room, because sometimes you're a little bit lower key in your voice. And I think you used vocal variety pretty well. And I don't know if, I'm sure you were trying to do that, but I don't know if that was more the extemporaneous style, so you didn't feel like you really had anything to lose. So being able to jump out there and experiment with that and be okay with not sounding good or making a mistake or anything like that. Maybe that was part of it. I don't know. But I thought you sounded more like you do in your table topics, where you talk about something, you're a little bit louder when you talk, a little bit more passionate about what you talk about. So I thought that was great. You ask questions, And that's always great for audience participation. And that's always a great tip for those that are little leery about speaking in front of an audience, especially a big one when you're talking about hundreds of people, because all the eyes are on you. When you ask a question to the audience, they might be staring at you, but they go back into their own mind to answer that question. So it's almost like their attention comes off of you and goes back on them. So it's a great tip to use for people that aren't real comfortable in front of people. Is you just ask a question to the audience, and right away you can see them go back in their mind, even though their eyes are still on you. You had some quotes from thought provokers and influencers. You mentioned one of them, Elon Musk. Good use of hands and body language, I thought. Used your little rectangle pretty well. You can tell you had a passion for the subject. You had a smile on your face as you were talking about everything. And that's always a dead giveaway that you actually have a passion for the topic and have some experience in the topic. You had organized speech. You tell them what you're going to tell them. You told them, and then you told them what you just told them, basically. And then maybe something to work on. And I'm being picky here. And again, this was an extemporaneous speech. So just the reliance on notes, maybe a little bit more. I don't know how your notes were. I don't know if they were just short bullet points or they were bullet points, but sentences, but just staring down, it's tough when you haven't practiced it. So I'm being a little picky here. But what I would do is I would make those, if they're sentences, if that's what you're going off of, is make them really, really short, almost 3-4 word things, so that you can just glance down, see it, and then you can glance back up and talk. But other than that, I thought it was a great speech, Chanel. Great work.
Thank you, Joey.
Thanks, Joey. Now we're going to move on to our timer report. And I think Joey's doing that for us as well. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Let me write down my time here. All right. So we started with Chanel's speech. She came in at 6:49. Perfect. Right on time. Our table topics, Chanel 148. Perfect. Joey, I didn't get it. I totally forgot. I was trying to wrap it up as soon as I could. Denny came in at 125. Awesome. Mike at 119. Everybody did great on table topics. And then I came in, shocker, slightly over in the evaluation at 341. So that's our timer. Back to you, Denny.
Thanks, Joey. Mike counted our ahs and ums today. How did we do, Mike?
Yes, we did great. Chanel, your speech really, I only heard an and a so out of place, and one and in your table topic. Joey, Denny, I didn't hear anything. I tried my hardest and I only picked up 9 for me. So that means I missed 9, but that is our all kind of report today.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. And our grammarian report, I don't think anyone perspective, including myself. Did anyone use it? Okay, use it today after we leave the meeting. And I'll turn it, our general evaluation for the meeting today, we're a small meeting, small group. One thing I think we could be a little bit less formal in our transitions. And it makes it a little more seamless, I think. So I'd like to work towards that, making it just a little bit less formal when there's fewer of us. When we don't need to be formal, we should be able to do it both ways, both formal and then a little more casual, and still maintain an order to the meeting. Good, and I'm going to turn this back over to Chanel.
Thank you, Jenny. Could you give an example of a casual transition, just what you're thinking there?
Yes, for instance, when we have, let me find the exact transition here. If we have Joey giving an evaluation, for instance, and then he can go right into the timer role. I think that's the next thing on there. So it may not be necessary to pass it back to me. Let's say a new person we're on the call. I would like it to look like we know these roles so well that we know what the next thing is. And so it wouldn't really be necessary to pass it back to me in this regard, I don't think. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think we don't have to bounce the ball back and forth quite as much if there's only us.
Yeah, it's one thing if you got somebody brand new, and it's another thing to have a group here that have been Toastmasters for quite a while. Yeah, Mike's even been with us for a while, even though we took a break. He knows how it all works. So I
think
agree.
there's an art making the meeting run smoothly and like we're having a good time and fun and still keeping structure to it.
Mhm.
So there's a balance to be struck there.
Sure.
No big deal. I'm being super picky.
Well said.
Yeah.
In saying that, next week, can I try my, can I try being the Toastmaster again?
Sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
do it.
It's been a while,
You could
Mike.
vol-
No, you know, I looked and it takes, you know, I think I have the flow down a little bit better, and I think having a small group kind of helped me kind of get things
Sure.
prioritized in my mind, where
Mhm.
I think I can do a lot better and a little more appropriate flow for the meeting next week, I hope.
Yep.
My goal.
Good time to make mistakes if you're going to make mistakes, right? Small meeting.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna move Heather's speech
Yeah,
to next week. Sorry, what was that?
Nothing.
Nothing. Go for it, Chanel.
I'll move Heather's speech to next week since she wasn't able to give it today. And I'll volunteer to be general evaluator. And Denny and Joey, are you going to be attending?
Yep. You can put me down for table topics.
Yeah, sounds good.
And you can keep me in on Zoom too.
I'll try to have a word prepared for next week, just in case
Okay.
we need one.
And I'm happy to evaluate next week
Okay,
or wherever you want me.
that would be perfect. And I'm gonna schedule a speech for myself for June 7th. I just have a couple left to finish my pathway. So I want to get them finished before the start of the new.
Put me down for that same date, Chanel, please.
Okay,
I'm done with baseball officially after next week. So this week and next week are my last 2 weeks.
woohoo, then you're gonna rest.
Then it's on to the next.
Oh, no. All right, that's all that I have. Is there anything else that we need to discuss?
Nope. And then next week we should have access to pathways, right?
Yeah, I'm
Almost.
hoping.
Everybody.
Yeah. All right, thank you guys for showing up today.
All right. Everybody have a good week.
You
Bye.
too.
Yeah.
Finish